Hi. So, this is a special 2 subscriber video. Whoa! Milestone achieved and all that, whatever. So thank you to our 2 subscribers. That's Rochelle and CJ. Oh my god, so cool. Yeah, so we're well on the way from 2 to 1,000,000. It's good. Anyway, so I have spent a long part of my life flitting from between two very different ways of life. So I have been flitting between travel and alternative lifestyles and a normal consumer system lifestyle, and I've been doing that for about 15 years now. And it started when I first went to New Zealand and essentially saw that there are other ways that life can be lived. Until that point, all I knew was literally the box that I was in, and I didn't realise I was socially conditioned, indoctrinated. I believed what I saw and what I heard. Anyway, having my box opened meant that I then followed a path where I never really felt that happy. Looking back, it was like I was always trying to be happy, but I was always because I was flitting from travel and not travel, essentially, I would always try and fully live a life according to one of them. So I would work, I would immerse myself in work, I would get a flat, I would get a TV, get a computer, whatever, and after like a year I get completely bored, and literally I would have to go travelling, and I would ditch everything. I'd go off with a backpack or a camper or whatever, solo or with mates, and the same thing would happen. Like, it would be euphoria at first, but then after a while I would just start questioning why I was doing it. I didn't feel fulfilled anymore. There was no real reason, and so I would return to normality, system and jobs and whatever, and the same thing would happen there. I'd feel euphoric for a while. I'd feel like, oh, this is it now, I've found what I should be doing, I've got travelling out of me, and I'd work, I'd put everything into it, I'd start businesses or whatever, and a few months down and the same thing would happen. I would completely get disillusioned with what I was doing, and again I would flit to the other side, and the cycle continued, and it's been like that for the last 15 years. Recently, what I've done recently has brought me closer to an understanding of myself, and I've also started looking into the 2 sides of the human brain, and that has really opened up some interesting thoughts and understandings within me, and I want to share those. So there's a number of YouTube videos that I've been looking at, and I'll mention them in the comments, in the description down below, so I'll link everything. But a couple of things that were really important, I'm just trying to find them now. I've looked at history. Okay, So there's a video by CGP Grey, and it's called You Are Too. And this video very nicely and clearly puts across the fact that our mind is split into two hemispheres. You probably already knew that. The way in which those hemispheres communicate is via the what's it called? The corpus callosum or something, or corpus callosum. Anyway, something like that. So there's two separate hemispheres. They communicate via this small piece of neural tissue in the center. What you are too goes on to describe is the nature of the two hemispheres. So the left side of our brain is like a logical side. It remembers the past. It processes information, and it projects the future. It's concerned with us as an entity, so it sees itself as separate from every other human and thing on the planet. It is linear in terms of time. It's logical for the most part, and it understands words and can talk. It's a fantastic part of the brain because, you know, without it, we wouldn't be able to necessarily organize our lives, and we wouldn't be able to talk, and we wouldn't be able to recognize things, you know, written word, faces, whatever. Now, the right side of our brain is concerned with receiving information. So it has all of our sensory input that fed into it with no filters, and that must be an amazing thing. It's just like bombarded by information. It doesn't deal with past or future. It only deals with now, and it can't speak. So the voice which I hear inside my head, which I always thought was, you know, some sort of bipolar or schizophrenia or, you know, mental problem, it's just the left side of your mind. The right side doesn't talk. And here's what's really interesting. The left side of our minds isn't aware of the right side. So the left side thinks that it is the only thing, and because it's the only thing that's talking, and, you know, speech is how the left side really explains emotions and explains the universe and understands things, why would it be aware that there's a right side? That's the only way it's got of understanding and communicating. So the left side can talk and is logical and is dealing with the past and the future, and is not aware that there's a right hand side of the brain which thinks in an entirely different way. The right side hand of the brain is aware of the left side, but it is completely absorbed in the now. It has no opinions, it has no desires, it has only appreciation for the sensory input that's coming in, and it lives completely in the now, and it's totally fine with everything. It's totally fine with the fact that even though if we existed more on the right side of the brain, maybe our lives would be incredibly different for the better. Who's to say? It doesn't mind that it's taking a backseat. It doesn't mind that the left doesn't realise it's there. It's completely cool with everything because it exists right now. The second video that I'm going to link, and that is amazing, is by a woman called Jill Bolte Taylor, and she has done a talk on a TED talk, and that is what the video is. So it's Jill Bolte Taylor talking about how she had a stroke and caused by a blood clot in the left hand side of her brain, and she is incredibly eloquent and incredibly good to watch, because she's so emotional about this. She has seen what she's a neuroscientist, so as well as feeling what's going on in a sort of personal way, she's also obviously able to look at the science behind it. It's absolutely incredible, and she is just she was so taken by what happened. She experienced something, and she goes on to describe it as nirvana. She goes on to talk about, even as a neuroscientist, the infinite universal connections that she felt. And she's a neuroscientist, so she's not going to be like she deals in black and whites. The scientific side of her has dealt in black and whites and beyond reasonable doubts, and now suddenly she's been through this experience which is scientifically normal. She had a stroke. It was a blood tumor. Fuck, man. Right, well, hang on. Yo. Alright, how are you? Right. Yeah, that's stupid. Okay. Right. Cool, I'm here, mate, no worries. Alright. Bye. So that's my dad. Sorry about that. I'm waiting for the plumber. Anyway. So yeah, she's a neuroscientist, so she's not gonna come at these universe and connectedness things and nirvana lightly. It's well worth a look. Her experience was this blood clot caused a stroke. She goes on to say how she woke up, had headaches, yada yada yada. The stroke, the blood clot was in the left-hand side of her brain. So what actually happened was her left side literally shorted out on her, and she experienced total silence from the left side of her brain for several minutes in an intermittent pattern. And again, it just highlights what is going on with our minds. So it highlights the difference in thinking. You are two separate, not people, but two separate ways of thinking in your head. I am too. And now that I am beginning to understand it, I'm forgiving myself for so much shit that I did, man. I'm not saying it's alright to do anything, but it is alright to do anything, as long as it's you're honest with yourself, and it's pursuit, not pursuit, it's simply what you would do, but that's another story. The reason why I'm posting this is because I really think that many of us, well, we all have two hemisphere minds, and there's bound to be like weird exceptions to that rule, but 99% of us are going to have these two separate hemispheres in our brain that communicate in completely different ways and understand and interpret the world in different ways, which means that we are going to, many of us, me included, feel like there's some fucking annoying thing about us that just when we think we're happy, we're like, actually, and how to maybe live a little more balanced. Because as I say, I went from one side of the scale to the other all the time. I was always looking to completely satisfy whatever I felt at the time, which is a good way to live. But also because I was so strong in terms of, right, I want to travel now, or right, I want to do this now, it was either one side of the brain or the other, which meant that, yeah, okay, I could fully satisfy that side of the brain, but then it was only a matter of time before the other side of the brain would be like, hey, this is not fun for me anymore. So entertainment is a really interesting thing, because I've been trying to come to terms with why the fuck I love computer games, but hate to play them. Feel like I'm wasting my life. And it's because my left side of the brain is completely entranced by computer games, because it gives it logic problems, it gives it reflex, stuff to learn, stuff to train, and things to think about. It keeps the left side of the mind occupied. But meanwhile, the right side, if you actually look at a screen, the right side simply sees this screen with a load of things that it doesn't understand, and its peripheral vision sees the real world going on, and it's like, hey, there's things going on out there, or hey, I could be doing this. And I'm just starting to understand that is normal. That's why I get so fed up, but also so drawn to computer games. And I've been beating myself up about it for a long time, and now I feel like I'm beginning to understand more about why I am the way that I am, and how to treat myself. So I think a key thing is, our minds are two at odds elements, and I have tried to totally satisfy one of them at a time, and it is not working. It hasn't worked. Maybe it hasn't worked, I think, as well because of the society that we now live in, where it's very left brain or centered. So there's tons of entertainment. There's very little room for spirituality, although obviously it's getting better and better. But science is our religion. If it's not black and white, if it can't be proven beyond reasonable doubt, if it's not in a linear stream of time, if it's not within our what we already understand, then it's not true. It's very, very left brain centered. Our right brain sees beyond what it sees, it feels. But I think that the reason why maybe a balance needs to be achieved rather than going straight for the right hand side of the brain or straight for the left is because we have a left and a right side of the brain. We have this balance, and it's really interesting because philosophy never answers any questions. It can't, and science can only answer questions. But then science never finds an end to anything, because every question it answers just leads to two more questions. Like if you look at all the history of science trying to get deeper and deeper and deeper into what makes things. So you have atoms first of all, then they split the atom and found that it was comprised of nucleus, electrons, positrons, neutrons, and then they found that they can go even deeper into like photons, into quasi-particles, into quantum mechanics, and even deeper. Every time though, there's never been that's it. It's always been oh, this is it. 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever, more things. So science is like a never-ending black desire to put the world into black and white, into logic terms, which is our left side. And we are totally at conflict with that on our right side, which is just be, experience, anything is possible. We are all connected, I dream about, living in a world in which, let's say we're all right-sided thinkers, and I think that can happen. I think I have enabled, through what I do and through trying different things and thinking in different ways, I've enabled my right side of the mind to become more involved in what I do in a left-sided world. And I think from what I see, many other people are doing the same thing, which is fantastic. Like, look at how many people call it the universe, and yet there's nothing. It's not a religion. It's not a doctrine of anything. It's not scientific. Yet we're all calling it the universe. Why is that? Personally, I call it the universe because I feel like it's everything and everywhere. And there is no other word that describes that. The universe is everything and everywhere. So that's why I call it the universe. I don't call it God, because God is, it's it gives it a personable, a personification. It gives it a human feel. B, it kind of means like that I am not it necessarily, but we are all it. We are all the universe, and we are all one, and all of this. So, as I say, I think this left and right side of the brain research that I've been doing, for me, it's been a real fantastic thing to find out. It's shown me that I am not in any way wrong in how I've been feeling. It explains why I've been so confused all the fucking time. It explains why New Zealand and going there and opening my box only led me to wanting to open my box even more. And why I'm sharing this with you guys is because I want you to know that you are not wrong or mentally ill for being confused about everything you do. Science, as I was saying, science can give answers, but it never gives ultimate answers. Philosophy can never give answers, but it gives ultimate thinking. Let's say, ultimately, what both of those points are driving at is that we will never, ever find the answers, and for good reason. If we found the answers to our existence, then we would probably not exist, because well, what would be the point? If we knew that there was something else after this, then we would all simply just end our existences, because there would be no point to it. So it's just so interesting then that we've been given this mind that is completely contradictory, that's completely at odds to each other, and therefore we'll never be able to agree. We'll never be quieted, because it can't be, because one is communicative but is unaware of the other, and the other can't communicate and is totally aware. I mean, what a beautiful, beautiful system, what a beautiful, beautiful creation. It is perfect for allowing us to think and to feel, but never to truly understand, and never to truly to know or to want to know, but yet we do know, because the right side of our brain knows. It's there, it's in the now. What Jill Bolt Taylor says at the end of her speech is that we all have that in us. We all have the right side of the brain in us that is constantly connected and is constantly free. And accessing that, I think, may well be something that brings a lot of us happiness. I know that I've experienced total right side domination before, and I would experience that time as some sort of nirvana. Absolutely incredible. I'll probably do another video about that later. Literally just for a split second, and I remember it as if it were a year. It was just, anyway, I'll explain more later. But I'm gonna post I'm gonna write the links up, and yeah, I'd like to see if you guys think the same. Have you do you exist in a world inside your head which fucking pisses you off, because it's like you never seem to know what it is you're doing, where it is you're going, and just when you think you do, it goes and changes, because now you know why, maybe, or you can begin to look into why. Anyway, 2 subscribers! Whoa! Later. Thank you.